So welcome to yet another episode of Career Conversations. So today I have on the show Professor Vinita Sahay. She's the director of I am Bodh Gaya, and I was quite fortunate enough to get her time for this show because I had requested her to come on this show and share her career journey, her perspective towards management education, how that has evolved. So thank you for the time, ma'am. It's been a pleasure having you.
Thank you, Anurag. Thanks for connecting.
Yes, ma'am. So I'll straight away plunge into the questions. So first of all, like before I plunge into the professional part of your academic journey, please, if you could just tell us about your formative years in Kanpur, your family, your value system that you learned a bit.
Uh, yeah, I think for last couple of years that I've been working in Bihar, a lot of people ask me from where do I come from, where do I belong, and I think my formative years gave me an identity which was Indian, because I was a daughter of a defense production officer. So we were posted all over the country. So I could never relate myself as North Indian or a UPite or a Bihari or so on and so forth. So very early in my life, I became Indian, and for which I'm very thankful to my father's profession of defense. Not only
Okay.
that frequent transfers gave us a very good, formative years, because I think in these years you develop adaptability, you develop resilience, you develop your basic interpersonal skills. So I think those were lovely years. Every 2-3 years we would get to a new city, to a new home, and luckily, uh, yes, Kanpur had 5 ordnance factories, so a very sizable portion of my school time I had spent in Kanpur, what used to be known as Manchester of India, one of the most heavily industrialized town of the country. Lovely years. I'm a Kendriya Vidyalaya product. Very proud of it, because all my teachers were PhD and they have a huge contribution in what I have become. We were a very small school, and what we keep talking about, individual attention and small classroom teachers, a good teacher student ratio, is something which we were very privileged to enjoy. And yes, I was the youngest among three, so a lot of resilience you develop even based on that. So I do recollect my father calling me a fighter right from very beginning. So yeah, it has been a great childhood and a great foundation that my parents have been able to give. A typical middle class officer, professional family where education is always on a very high platform, because right from beginning we were told कि पढ़ोगे नहीं तो दुकान खोलना पड़ेगा. So uh, which later on in my class of retailing I used to use this phrase कि इंडिया में इतनी दुकानें हैं that the only way to motivate children to study is कि पढ़ लो नहीं तो दुकान खोलना पड़ेगा. So yeah, it has been a lovely journey.
Okay, so in terms of the academic choice, because a lot of youngsters they have different notions about different courses. So when at those yesteryears you chose economics as your pursuit, so you did an MA in economics with a gold medal, then followed it with a PhD and PGDBA in marketing. So what really went behind this choice? Why not science maybe? Why not normal commerce? Why eco? And then marketing specialization. So these are typical, these sound to be very simple choices, but they're very complex, ma'am, when people really want to make these choices. Or does it just happen?
I think your last part of the sentence was very correct. It happened. And like I was always very young in my class. I think I finished my class 10th by the time I was 15. And in our times, this question was not so big, at least to a teenager. Life, what do you want to do in life? Uh, I feel the current generation to be far less fortunate, because poor guys, they start facing this question very early in life. And here I would like to tell all my listeners, all my students, that it is pretty okay if you are not sorted in your teens. It's little cruel in India that we do not allow our children, our students to experiment. We were not lucky, at least when we were teenagers, there were not much of psychometric profiling available. There were not too many tests, aptitude tests available, where people could guide us as to what we are meant to do. And so we did what was the best at that moment in time, and we figured it out by hit and trial. But I think over years we've become very, very demanding on our children, on our students, where we keep harping student in class 12 that what do you wish to do? You should be sorted. All your friends are sorted. So herein, especially, I'm told that most of the students who are listening to this channel are the ones who are into commerce, and I'm so sure you took commerce not necessarily because you wanted to take commerce. It's just that you were pretty clear that you were not meant for science. And in India, still humanities, well, I thought differently when I was in NCR, but now that I live in Bihar, I do know that humanities is not something which sheer peer pressure, people don't take it up because it is not a cool thing to do in your parlance. So, yes, the students in commerce, they are the ones who are bright, don't want to take any other which way, but yet are very clear that they don't want to do science and physics and chemistry. And it's pretty okay to be like that because management education, like many of you may aspire for management education. It's good that you're doing your graduation. It's good you're doing any foundation level graduation course. And then possibly you will get into management education. And management education is like starting afresh because we have all kinds of disciplines. You have HR, you have IT, you have operations, you have marketing, you have finance. So, and each requires a very, very different level of intelligence. Now that people are aware of frameworks like multiple intelligences by Dr. Howard Gardner, there are people, professionals available who are able to guide you as to what your major talent is, what your major skill set is, what your major intelligence is. So good that in the first year of MBA, we expose the students across all disciplines. So that allows them to have a feel of all these subjects, of all these streams. And then they have this freedom to choose what they wish to specialize in, which is very beautiful because there are students who would be extremely good with numbers and quantitatives. They can very well be in quantitative based disciplines like operations and finance, but there would be some who would be very good with people. So they would do phenomenally well in HR or softer skills based domains. There are people who are born salesperson, so the marketing is very good for them. So MBA is that way a very open kind of a course, especially a 2-year MBA, where first year you are allowed to experiment with all the disciplines, and second year you can make your choice as to what resonates with you. And as long as you are in graduation, please enjoy. Commerce in any case is a very happening discipline because it's a direct pickup from life. You see what's going on all around you. It's all about economy. It's all about commerce. It's all about industry, and which is what you study. So you are actually very well placed, and sky's the limit. I think today that you decide, um, you have best of the opportunities available these days, and commerce, or for that matter, degrees like BA, LLB, and CA, they are very, very useful undergrad degrees, as I feel. Of course, which also lead to a full-fledged profession, but it also leads to a good post-graduation like management or any other which you choose to do. So it's wide open for you.
So, ma'am, when you've taught at a vast area of colleges, marketing, ICFI, Amity, School of Inspired Leadership, IMT Ghaziabad, IM Raipur, Now I am both Gaya. So how has marketing in the classroom evolved over the years? So I remember like in our IIM Ahmedabad days, there was this case study of Britannia Kha World Cup, yeah, where you used to just scratch it on that thing. And now you've got digital marketing and neuro consumer behavior. So how has been that transition for you as a teacher over these years?
Yeah, you're very correct. The marketing which I taught, I think the earliest, if I recollect, is early 90s or maybe earlier than that. Marketing has changed a lot. Though in Indian context, if you have not read Kotler, you don't feel that you've done an MBA. So the Kotler still remains to be the Bible. But even the whole flavor, but then the consumer has changed, the way we communicate has changed, the way we use our media has changed. So naturally any discipline would evolve. So if I really wish to reach out to a 16-year-old today, I won't find him any other way or on any other medium other than internet. So naturally, if I have to reach out to a 16-year-old, I have to be there on internet, which is why digital marketing has become so big. And of course, heavily accelerated by COVID. I think this COVID has really made the entire world very, very digital friendly overnight. And this is going to change the way people would interact with technology, or the companies would interact with consumers in a very big way. And this for sure is not a short haul. Like, other day I was discussing, luckily we have as our founder, one of the biggest cosmetic giant like Nykaa. CEO is my board member. So I was discussing it with her that, do you think in this lockdown, the sale of cosmetics have gone down, that people are not going out? And we were kind of discussing that what are the kind of product categories which are getting impacted by COVID. And, very beautiful insights came into discussion that even while people are at home, somehow cosmetics is still what we call it as a low value luxury indulgence. So if people cannot go for European holidays, cannot go for cruises, cannot go for any other luxury product, at least you feel good about painting your nails or coloring your hair sitting at home. So she was mentioning that there are few product categories where the sales have gone through the roof, like hair color and the nail paints and all this. And interestingly, I was also reading another report that when the market opened up in Wuhan in China, people thronged the cosmetic stores. So both ways, that while they're in-house, the behaviors are changing. And at the same time, who knows, humans also have resilience, that people may bounce back to their pre-COVID times. But for sure, even this COVID episode is going to change humanity a lot, going to change marketing a lot. I see huge upsurge in e-commerce. I see huge upsurge in affiliate marketing. I see huge upsurge in influencer-based marketing tactics and strategies. So these are some few more, going forward, these are going to be the changes. So YouTubers and all these influencers are now taking up the biggest budgets in any marketing company. So, yep, over the years, things have changed. But having said it, the philosophy still remains the same. I still love the definition of Peter Drucker that marketing is an act, if done so properly, makes selling superfluous. It is still about identifying the needs of the consumers and servicing them meaningfully. It is still about communicating. Yes, the methods to communicate may change over time. That for sure.
Absolutely amazing. And I would just wanted to add, like, there's a lipstick thing that lipsticks sales have never been up or down across recessions or boom. But this is the first time that because of mass, because there is no incentive to apply lipstick, people are going to have their masks on.
Okay.
So maybe for the first time in the history of humanity, the sale of lipsticks is going to go down. Plus aspect like the rich will not want to wear 20 rupees mask. So they might have a Gucci or a Louis Philippe kind of a mask which is costing 20,000 rupees, because masks are a part of life for the next 6 months probably. So a lot of things are
Yeah.
going to probably happen. So ma'am, in the
It's
next
going to
question,
be
huh?
a status symbol.
Huh? Sorry?
Masks are going to be the new status symbol.
Yeah,
The most
mask are going. Absolutely. So, ma'am, like when you taught abroad, like in the Aarhus University of Denmark as a visiting faculty for a long period of time, are the students abroad different from the Indian students in terms of their quest for marketing knowledge, the case study method, etc.?
See, when you teach in a very different culture, it's a huge learning it was a huge learning for me as a teacher. If I list down the learnings from my Denmark experience, uh, they are immense. First, of course, one is technology and platform based. So we were using platforms like blackboards and online exams even a decade earlier. So I remember even 10 years ago, all my exams were digital or were online. So this thing which is now happening in India is not new if you have been teaching abroad. I think you know that Denmark is one of the happiest country in the world. So visiting that country for 9 years has been a huge eye opener. I actually started noticing why people remain happy and what is the crux of it. That led to my own individual interest in happiness. And after that, I've been a long journey of doing happiness courses, right from Tel Ben Shah to this whole personal journey as well. A couple of more things I learned. Denmark has one of the highest taxation in the world, and still people very happily give it. So I learned very basic feeling and understanding about patriotism from them. What it is to be like to love the country, what it is to be like to love your culture, to love everything that defines you. And like I keep telling my PGP class whenever I teach every time every year in the marketing, that all my jokes or anecdotes are going to be in Hindi, because I learned the importance of national symbols like your own language, your own culture, and how important it is to weave the society together, how important it is to have the feeling of nation first. Because for me, a very simple definition of corruption is when you put self before the nation. That for me is the definition of corruption. So if those countries do not even know what corruption is, they don't even know the word meaning of the word bribe, if they're still very happy paying 56% of their taxes, what is that? And first and foremost, I realized that it was love for their country. So I think the one of the biggest take homes has been uh, my own love for my own country has grown tenfold times, and I think I'm able to spread this feeling to my youngsters as well. But yes, in terms of delivering in the class, the students are much more mature, because unlike in India, where almost the 100% tuition fees is paid by the student family, therein, if you reach the master's level, then very few people reach the master's level in those countries, and PhDs are very far and few. And so if they've reached the master's level, they're very, very serious about it. And each one of them would have worked few years before. And each one of them, even while attending classes, would be having at least a job. So that was a very different experience from having captive Indian residential students to those kind of students where they were multitasking and yet they were so good. So it was, and of course, they always call you by your first name.
India, that is kind of doesn't happen. So, ma'am, in Jan 2018, you became the second women director in the entire history of the IIMs, and as the first director of IIM Bodh Gaya in Bihar. So, how was that? I mean, one, it would have been a lot of happiness, but then when you would have landed in Bodh Gaya, it would have been like a startup kind of an experience. Like you are an entrepreneur and you are now into it. You need to set up this college, and so how was that entire experience of I? Because I think that is almost like a startup experience. A new IIM from the very beginning.
Yes, exactly. You're very correct. How IIMs get started is there's one director, and then there is a bunch of very bright students and nothing in between. So I think almost all these IIMs are started like that. And on top of it, every stakeholder's expectation is a sky high. So whether it is a visiting faculty who walks in, or it is a recruiter, or it is some company who comes in for training or consulting, or parents or students, everybody expects that it is an IIM, so things should be world class. And if uh, I I don't like to quote these things as to till how long we did not even had, like I think we were fourth year into existence and I was the lone employee of the organization. So that just sums up that how difficult it can be in terms of journey, and especially in this part of the country where there are land issues, there are settling issues in terms of infrastructure. Yes, it is almost like a startup. Only thing is, with an added grace of having a sky high expectation from every stakeholder. But still, the biggest the motivation or inspiration is the brand itself. See, when we take up postings like these, I think we decide for ourselves that, yeah, those 5 acre houses to 1,000 square feet small cubicle flat, from best of the facilities to an absolutely city where even basic necessities are not being met. So we all come up with that kind of, we sign up on all these things. And we always take these tenures as, I don't want to sound very cliche because it's too big a word, but these are humble ways in which we can contribute to brand IM. These are humble ways in which we can contribute to the brand India. Because I do recollect I was lucky enough that way back in 1985, I think I went, it was still West Germany and East Germany. And or in the streets of Paris, they used to look down at us and say, "Oh, you brown Asian." And today, when we go abroad, when we go to developed world, they always will have this feeling, "Oh, you bright Indian professor." So this journey from you brown Asian to a bright Indian professor, there are, I'm not saying the other brands have not contributed, but there have been two major contributions coming from two major brands, which is IIT and IM. So all said and done, India has created these two very strong brands, and to be a part of that legacy itself is one of the biggest motivation. Every step that we take, every action that we take, we are always very mindful that we have to live up to that legacy. We have to live up to that brand. We have to live up to that promise to every stakeholder. So that strives us, that helps us in striving our best. But having said it, yes, being in a new geography, in an area where there is not much of industry and commerce, and it's challenging, but that's worth it.
Yeah, and the students were just amazing. When I had visited there in 2018, their sheer excitement of having people visit their campus, they wanted to learn. I mean, that was so nice that I still recollect. So I was just one of the students volunteered to drop me on his bike to the railway station because somehow it was very, so because they said, sir, you've come all the way from Calcutta to mentor us. Why can't I drive some 20, 30 kilometers? I'll do that. And I still remember that thing. Students are like just amazing in I am Bodh Gaya as well.
I think that's a culture we are able to build up in a startup kind of a thing, where everybody pitches in, fully understanding that, yeah, there can be constraints. So it's like the beautiful feeling of being in it together and still trying to live up to the brand.
So, ma'am, coming to the larger questions in terms of management education, since you've seen it over the decades, so the media kind of paints a B school as literally a placement factory. So you tell them a college name and the youngster is made to believe that to go look up at their placement report, look at the median CTC, the average placement, the recruiters, and that's it. But to my mind, B school is much more than just giving you placements. They give you a knowledge for life probably. So why is this kind of a thing there, and maybe your views on that?
I think everybody has their own share of blame in this whole thing as to why we landed up equating a B school with a placement agency. But yes, that is today a reality. I do recollect speaking to all my fellow directors and deans, and we all feel that this is a typical chicken and egg story. What comes first? The learning comes first or the job comes first? Should we focus on learning or should we focus on job? Because end of the day, especially in a new school like ours, there's always a limited bandwidth available. And where do we put that bandwidth is a very critical question. But having said it, I don't blame the youngsters because in India, CAT is not selection, CAT is more of an elimination. So if a student has been, if a student has made it, definitely it is not just the student, but the aspirations of the whole family, of the whole ecosystem, which is, on hinging on him. So for them to feel that what is the ROI, because ROI is not just in terms of money, ROI is also in terms of hours and years that he has spent together to be there. It's only, I think, later on in their journey, they do recognize that it's the IIMs not just gave them the job, but also that learning. Because like you being a pass out of IIM, but today would recognize the contribution the professors made in your life. So I'm so sure going forward, these students would also appreciate and understand. But as it is right now, yes. In fact, I joined you at 1 because just till about 12:59, I was sitting with my placement team and we were kind of building up strategies for year going forward. And yeah, we have to be mindful of the aspirations of our youngsters. And especially this year is going to be extremely challenging in terms of I think everybody involved, even the recruiters, even the students, everybody, we are all in it together. So, but that's the whole beauty of it, that we all are in it together. So we'll figure it out how to get out of it. But having said it, no point. What we can do, make corrections is, like I keep telling my PlaceCom team that rather than this, what we have to do is slowly and surely build up an ecosystem where we can give dreams to these students, and also an ecosystem and a network and a mechanism in place where we can help them set up their own ventures. Because if America became what it became, not just because of any other thing, but the enterprise of the people out there, the small startups which are generally incubated in business schools. So if there's a fundamental difference between a Harvard and I'm Ahmedabad, I think it is in that entrepreneurship spirit, which is there's a difference. So rather than complaining about it, I think we all should get together to create an ecosystem in a B school where we can slowly and beautifully shift the focus from them becoming a job seeker to a job provider. But cliched as it may sound, it's not going to happen overnight, because I think that 100% of our students are on loan. It's only when you work in these kind of establishments. When I came from a private school to an IIM, I was astounded by seeing that how truly it represents the lower aspirational part of India. Almost all our students have taken loans, which, just because of the fact that we are an institute of national importance, all the leading institutions, all the leading banks, they give them collateral free, very attractive loans. So, which of course can also have a moratorium periods, and they also have very, very soft loans. So in a way, these students can self-educate themselves. But still EMIs are always on their head when they are dreaming. So how do we ensure that while we are equipping them technically to start a venture, how do we emotionally make them more secure? How do we emotionally make them more enterprising? Is a challenge which in a B school we have to develop, which somehow in American business schools they've been able to develop, and which is where I feel that a lot of people should come together. And of course, government is doing their own bit. There are so many incubation centers and entrepreneurship cells which are being very nicely supported by so many government schemes. I think VCs and private equity, everybody should look forward to campuses like ours, where they can give wings to the dreams of our students. And that would be the best for the economy, that would be the best for the country, because these students are diligent students. Uh, they've been best of the lot, that's why they're there. They've been used to working 16, 17 hours a day. So, and of course, in a B school, we can give them ideas, we can help them develop fantastic new things. But the courage and the support uh, either has to come from the ecosystem, from families, from society at large.
No, absolutely, ma'am. I completely recollect the days at IIM Ahmedabad where when I had gone there, I had this blog called cajobportal.com, which was just like a listing of the jobs. It was professors there, like Professor Arvind Sahay, Sunil Sharma, who exhorted me that now you need to scale this into a commercial venture. And hey, this is how you go about doing this. So in a B school, there are so many people that you talk to, and every professor is willing to spend time with you, sitting with you on a piece of paper, saying, hey, these are your strengths, your weaknesses. Yeah, I completely resonate with the fact that this can be quite a thing. So, ma'am, like since you work so long, your students, as you said, 16, 18 hours, and you are almost would be always there. What is your formula for unwinding to rejuvenate yourself for the next day? And your formula for fitness, maybe yoga or meditation. You are in the land of Bodh Gaya, the Lord Buddha. And
Yeah, my biggest dream right now is to set up a mindfulness center in my campus. Because you rightly said that we are in the land of enlightenment. There is something in this geography. It's not by chance that the three of the most contemplative religions have emanated from this geography. So, and I have, as we say, that a lot of pride have started taking in things which are our own. I've learned it. So, right now, this land is ours. This land is mine. The wealth of this place is something which is being treasured across the globe. Uh, it is a product, it is a service, it is something which is needed badly in corporate world, uh, stressed out executives. So how do I make it happen is my current, dream, I would say. Currently, I must admit, I'm not able to do much in this regard. I'm looking forward to some team members, some like-minded people who can help me transverse this journey. But I see huge potential, huge need. I'm a marketing prof, so I see it's a need which we are in the right space to deliver. So that's something which is, and again, I don't want to sound cliched, but I just love when Abdul Kalam said that dreams are something which do not allow you to sleep. So I think that keeps me going.
all right, ma'am, amazing. So as we head to the end of this show, so what is your final advice to someone who would be watching this show, an MBA aspirant, someone who's already done an MBA, anyone who wants to really make it, I will not say big in life, but yeah, someone who wants respect in society, anyone, what is your advice to a young professional?
Uh, sounds giving advice again sounds very cliched, but be true to yourself. I am a very firm believer of realizing, like, Swadharm is nothing but realizing your true potential. Uh, Figure it out who you are, what your main talent is, what your main potential is, and then just use it for the higher goodness. And let me tell you, name, fame, money, big cars, big houses, everything else is a byproduct.
Um,
So I think that's what I feel.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for sparing your time out on this show. And I'm sure that the audience is going to just love it. Thanks once again, ma'am, for sparing
Thanks,
time out.
Aruna. All the best for all your endeavors in times to come.
Thank you, ma'am. All right.
More
Bye
power
bye.
to you.
Thank you,
Bye.
ma'am.